Today's video is very important for you, especially if you're a leader, a professional manager, an entrepreneur, or even a student. The tyranny of experience and how does one inculcate a beginner's mindset. Why is it important? Because I'm certain many of you must already know that experience has its own shades of gray, own shades of negatives. And all of you know that to have a beginner's mindset is good in whatever you're doing. But what I feel many of you don't know is why is it important for us to know the negatives of an experience, especially in an organizational context? And what are those step-by-step approaches or steps that you take in inculcating a beginner's mindset, and more importantly, implementing it in your careers or in your work? So I thought in today's video, we'll talk about that, and that's why it's important, because our philosophy is not talk theoretically, but talk very practically. Step-by-step approach in achieving what we really want to achieve. So I request you to watch this video fully till its end, because through the video you will gain some subtle insights and nuances which I assure you are going to be very enriching for you. My name is Vikram Limsay and welcome to another episode of Careertainment, a career resource channel for professional managers, entrepreneurs and students. And as always, thank you very much for liking, subscribing and sharing the channel. And even in this video, I'll be happy to learn from you. So please comment on whatever your thoughts are below. Now, have you ever experienced, I'm sure all of us have experienced, when a small baby or a toddler, a crawling toddler, approaches a hot glass of milk, a glass filled with some hot milk? What happens? As soon as it touches that hot glass of milk, there's disaster. It spills, it leaves the glass breaks, the milk is spilled, and the child starts crying and howling and screaming and shouting for its mom. That's the common thing that happens, right? We've experienced that. But this is all happening on the outside. What's actually happening inside the mind of the baby? Its intellect is getting hard-coded by that reaction of getting burnt or getting scalded. And because the intellect has gotten hard-coded by that reaction, from that point onwards for its life, it's going to think twice before touching a hot glass of milk or whatever. So much so that for some time it's not even going to touch a glass, even if you fill it with some ice cold water, ice cold milk, because it's afraid that it's going to burn itself or scald itself. That's what happens, right? Let's take this analysis one step further. If you deeply analyze what is actually happening as the child is approaching that or this entire accidental incident, is that at an intellectual level, there is curiosity and inquisitiveness at work. The child is curious. It goes ahead and approaches that glass. At a mental level, there is faith and trust at work. Because it's not fearful of anything. It just thinks it's just another thing. Let me just go and touch it. And at a very physical level, there is 100% engagement with all its 5 senses of perception and all its 5 organs of action, right? That's what we see when a baby touches or grasps anything, even if it's a small plastic bottle or a toy, or even if it's a snake or a creepy crawly, it just takes it and tries to engage it 100%. And that's the analysis of an experience when we engage with anything outside of us 100% at a mental, intellectual and at a physical level. That's an experience. But then every experience has a reaction, and that reaction gets hard-coded. Like in this case, the fact that the baby got scalded and the hands got burnt has got hard-coded at its intellectual level. But when the reaction hard-codes the intellect, this is what happens. In this example specifically, inquisitiveness and curiosity at the intellect level gets transformed into caution and a warning. At a mental level, that trust and faith get transformed into something like fear and doubt. At a physical level, engagement gets transformed into disengagement. So moment your intellect gets hard-coded with the reaction of a pure experience, the earlier one was a pure experience, suddenly the whole thing transforms. Faith and trust becomes doubt and fear, curiosity and inquisitiveness becomes caution and warning, and engagement becomes disengagement. And unfortunately, that's what happens in every experience. And that's the problem with an experience. Well, experience is a good thing. because it saves us a lot of time. Because after all, there's no point re-engineering and reworking everything around us, right? To stand, how do we eat, how do we walk, how do we run, etc., etc. There's no point. Experience helps you. But what experience does is makes you mechanical. And all of us know that a mechanical mindset leads us towards death. A creative mindset leads us towards growth. And that's where the tyranny of experience begins. And it's very important for us, because we are talking in the context of careertainment and our careers in business and entrepreneurship, that it needs to be looked at in a proper perspective when it comes to an organizational context. What is the tyranny of experience in an organizational context? Because experience is such an overrated word when it comes to our corporate world or business world, right? How much experience does this guy have? Recruit this fellow with so much experience, this, that, and everything. So experience is all around us, right? That's what happens. But before we go any further on identifying what is the tyranny of experience in an organizational context, let me make one thing very clear. Experience has got nothing to do with time or age. It's got everything to do with doing the same thing again and again. You may be playing football for 10 years, but Lionel Messi hits 10,000 kicks in 1 year. Now, who's experienced? So it's got nothing to do with age or the time that you've spent. It's all about how many times you've done a certain thing. That's what experience means. But coming back to the tyranny of experience in the organizational context. Now, all of us are business executives, and we know that in an organization or in a business, when we do things repeatedly again and again, it gives us diminishing marginal returns. That's an accepted economic law. There's nothing new about it, right? When you do things again and again, over a period of time, the returns that you get from that act is diminishing. You get less and less returns. And for the functioning of economy or business or your organization, for the curve to go up, there needs to be some spurts of newness at every point of time. For the last 200 years in the economy, we've seen that, right? From steam engine and railroads to electricity to telephones to internet. These are all spurts of newness, and we call them innovation. So innovation is very important for you to give that spurt of growth in an economy or in a cycle of business. And the tyranny of experience is that experience is the biggest roadblock or impediment to innovation. That's the problem, because you get in a mechanical mindset and therefore it becomes a roadblock to innovation. And that's really the tyranny of experience, apart from the good things that it offers us. So how does one get over the tyranny of this experience? Obviously, like the topic of this video suggests, by having a beginner's mindset. But how does one inculcate a beginner's mindset, and how does one implement a beginner's mindset? Let me take the second part first. How does one implement a beginner's mindset in your career or in your job or in your organization? Step number one, don't implement a beginner's mindset just for the heck of it. Just because I want to do something new, so you come over there and, like it happens with a new boss or an organization, it comes, I want to change everything. I want to do something from the beginning. Don't do that. Have some clear task and objective and a goal for implementing a beginner's mindset. It could be anything to do with process, by redefining the product, redesigning the product, or even prioritizing various processes within the organization. It could be anything. But have a clear objective and a goal before you implement a beginner's mindset in your organization. Don't just come and do it for the heck of it. It could be a financial goal, or it could be a larger than life goal also. For example, you could have a goal that I want to redesign an earbud because of all the plastic that is involved and which is choking up the marine life in our seas. That could be a goal, and you could start your beginner's mindset from there. Point number one. Second thing is, isolate the process of implementing a beginner's mindset. Don't go ahead and implement a beginner's mindset in whatever you are doing in a routine operation. That also happens, right? I'm sure many of you must have experienced. A guy comes and says that, all right, let's change the process from tomorrow. That's wrong. If you want to implement a beginner's mindset, isolate the process. Take it out. I love the example of the Japanese Sony Corporation. I read somewhere that they have these teams which are working parallelly to make the entire running operation obsolete. So if they were producing a Walkman, there was another team producing a better Walkman, and then there's another team producing a better Walkman than that team, and that's how Discman and everything. So isolate the process from your main line of operation. That's very important. That's the second step, like how the Japanese did. The third thing is that now start breaking down the processes into small events. It could be small steps, and I love the example of, I was hearing the interview of Elon Musk once, and he said that when they were wanting to build spaceships, the biggest deterrent was cost, because spaceships were very expensive. And then they went to NASA, and then they went to Moscow, to Russia, and tried to study their manufacturing process, and then they came back that, heck, why the hell is it so expensive? Because at the end of the day, it's all mechanics and a lot of steel, and it shouldn't, if they put it together, it shouldn't be that expensive. And that's what egged them on to make their own spaceships. And that's what probably went into making the electric cars also in Tesla, and then the story goes on. But that's the third step. Break down the process into small things and find alternatives for everything. Alternatives for the materials used, alternatives for the priorities, alternatives for so many things, that the way the things have been done. Always ask why and why not for each and every aspect. That's the third step. Once you're done with that, on fourth, put it all back together and try to compare it with the step number one, your original task. Does it achieve that objective? Because you may find that it's not scalable, whatever you've made. So in a beginner's mindset, put it all, that isolated task that you accomplished with all those alternatives, put it all together and then scale it up and see whether it matches or is better than the original one. And fifth, most importantly, that's again a tyranny of experience. Don't always think that because you have a beginner's mindset, you will do something better. You may end up doing something worse than what already exists. Only 10% of the things that come out of trying by putting a beginner's mindset in place might be better than everything else. But it doesn't matter. Even if 90% of the time you don't come up with something new, you've at least reinforced what was already going on, and then that's the surety of what was going on is working fine. So even then, a beginner's mindset helps. So repeating one, first, have a very clear goal. Why do you want to implement a beginner's mindset? Secondly, isolate the process and implement a beginner's mindset in a lab, somewhere away from the main operations. Third, break it down into small processes. Find alternatives. And fourth, build it all up together, compare it with the original objective. And fifth, be very clear that you may come up with something better, but you may not also. Even that's fine. Right? So this is the 5-step way of actually implementing beginner's mindset in your organization. It's my personal view that traits like beginner's mindset and everything are personal traits and not institutional traits. So it's purely my personal view that it should be done by the individual, not as a team in an organization. Because the moment you make it as a team, then again it becomes the whole aspect of a committee and task force, and again it gets into a rigmarole of what experience would have done to you anyway. So in my view, beginner's mindset is an individual trait. So try to do it yourselves. If you're a leader, try to think about a process in your organization at home separately. Think about it separately. That's what it is. But if it is an individual trait, then how does one develop an individual trait? It's very interesting. I thought 3 steps will help you. First, at a physical level, try to get the child out of you. Remember that example of the baby that we started with? Get the child outside of you. So if you get the child out, your child inside of you to come out, then you get that beginner's mindset. There are so many things that you can do, and we can talk about it later. But some examples, walk into a toy shop, buy a Lego set, buy a Meccano set, buy that old experiment, a chemistry experiment that you used to do as your kid. Believe you me, it helps. Getting the kid out of you at a physical level helps you generate that or develop or inculcate that beginner's mindset. That's one. Many of us, I've seen old people, have these train sets at home. I have some things like these, these train sets, or once in a while you keep building them like a kid, and it's invigorating. It gets your creative juices flowing, right? So that's what the child brings out at a physical level. At a mental level, do something completely insane. Think of it as a farmer who's kind of designed these clean furrows. The whole idea when you're inculcating a beginner's mindset is to completely disrupt the mental channels. How do you do that? By doing something completely out of your grain. If there's somebody that you hate, is your enemy, go make a friend out of him. Yeah? Or do something that you have never done before. Something like that. Yeah? Go and lock the room and dance. Anything of that nature. So at a mental level, just disrupt your organized flow of thoughts. That's what you need to do. And at an intellectual level, do something absolutely illogical. Or rather, question the logic of a certain thing. It could be as simple as, why do I have to have 3 meals in a day? Why don't I have only 2? Why do I have dessert after a meal? Why not dessert before a meal? It disrupts a logic. You can do so many examples, but the fact is very clear. At a physical level, get the child out of you. At a mental level, disrupt your mental channels. Things that you are doing in a certain way, just do completely opposite of that. And at an intellectual level, defy the logic of some couple of things every day in your life. And you should do this as an experiment, not that you change your entire lifestyle. Try to do it slowly over a period of time, and you will start inculcating a complete beginner's mindset inside of you. And then go ahead and implement it as per the 5 steps that we've talked about earlier. So I hope this video has helped you. And I'm quite certain all of us have that child inside us, and we can inculcate the beginner's mindset and implement it so that we are away from the tyranny of experience. Some part of experience is good, but in an organizational context, we can do a lot more if we're only aware that experience is making us more and more mechanical. Thank you for watching. Till we meet again. Bye. Cheers.